recorded while I've been here, which is some of the most phenomenal, I don't know, sounds of recording that I've ever made. Been staying in the Airstream trailer yonder. And on Friday, you may have noticed how ridiculous the wind was. And like I couldn't sleep because it was so much. And at first I was like, oh, it's like ocean waves. It'll really rock me to sleep. But then when it actually started rocking the trailer, I was like, no. But I got this great recording inside the trailer that, you know, really showcases how wild that wind is. But then also kind of I wanted to show this recording because I kind of, you ever been in a trailer, like a camper trailer? It's tiny. You could put your hands out and like touch the ceiling and the walls and stuff, and I kind of just like moved around in the dark and felt and touched every square inch of this thing so that I knew like what it was and where I was, because otherwise, you know, like I either bump into it or somebody describes it to me, which is never right, or I just caress the walls and therefore we're friends, you know what I mean? And so this recording, eventually I'll get to it and I can show you how cool it is, but it...
Voiceover on application.
Sorry about that. Hey,
Voiceover off.
Derek, can you give me a hand?
Yeah, I got it.
Can you just... I turned up. Can you sign me in? The password is Biff with a capital B. Don't hack me. Biff. So anyway, I guess I'll get to that recording once we figure out. We'll take a break and then I'll get online. But so yeah, so a lot of the time I'll record or perform as I kind of navigate and learn a space for the first time. Sorry, when it turns on it says "Sup, dork." So yeah, a lot of the times, you know, it's like, well, I'll first off say, like, with blindness often comes a kind of stigma of, oh, I don't want people to know that I'm blind or think that I'm blind. I kind of want to like mask or pass as like someone who could see or sighted or whatever, right? And so there's people that are like, you know, legally blind, visually impaired and stuff that don't use canes. Sometimes they don't necessarily need them. But sometimes they really do, and they're just not at the point where they realize that like yo, having a cane is, you know, it's good, it's important, it's safety, right? And so sometimes when you're in the position of not wanting to look blind, right? When you're around people, you don't want to be a burden, you don't want to draw attention, you know, that sort of thing. You'll kind of like play it cool, like, hey, you know, I got a table here, look at me, I'm like totally cool, I'm not gonna bump into anything like that. I don't know if this is resonating with anybody, but you know, you try to play like you're supposed to be there a lot of the times. Oh, I'm supposed to be like banging on stuff. I have permission to do this, right? Like, I mean, I do have permission. This is so fun, right? So it's like blind people are often thought of meek, helpless, hopeless folks, right? I mean, I'm not saying that any of you think that, but that's historically kind of like what it is, where it's like, oh, we can't be like well-groomed, good-looking, handsome, almost 50, but looking 32, that kind of thing. We can't all be that, right? We can't have like master's degrees and really dope-ass jobs and like come into doing cool residencies in the middle of the desert. So, you know, there's always this sort of like, this like staring, this gaze that people have on you where you, if you look like you're doing too much or you're too independent, they think you're faking, and that happens to me all the time. And so it's kind of become a thing where like I'm just going to experience whatever environment or space I'm in any way I can in order to get an idea of what's going on and where I am, right? If this makes any sense. Like, I know that this table is white and I know that it's here and I know how big it is and I know that it's dirty and that I should... And I know that a lot of the stuff that, you know, there's some scrap metal and stuff we pulled from the heap the other day that I did not clean, and I will have to like go under my nails afterwards because Yeah, whatever. God made dirt, dirt don't hurt. Just don't use your teeth to clean your nails. So, it's kind of like you have this permission often to just do stuff, right? It's like I've been in so many situations where I've just walked into a bar or a concert or something and, like without a ticket, and people are like, but I don't want to tell the blind guy he's going the wrong way. Like, people are afraid to kind of, hold you accountable for stuff. And I'll take advantage of that sometimes, right? But I'll also take advantage of the fact that there's a room full of people here, and I'm just like going like this, right? Like, this is one of my favoriteest things in the world. This brings me so much joy, making this weird sound, like. Right, this is just a table, right? And this is kind of like, I don't know, it's just like a stim toy, right? But I get to do all of these kind of recordings with something like this, and like the way that blind people navigate through spaces are either through like touch, activating sonically with a cane, or just on the ground. It's like, I know that this is a rug, feels like a rug. This is, I don't know, cement or something, right? And then this is a cool barrel that we found in the trash. And then I was like, what do I do with it? But, like, what would you guys do if you saw a top of a weird barrel on the ground? Would you do this? No? Yes?
Bang on it?
Well, no, I mean, what would you bang on it with? Like, if you got down and was just kind of like touching it and stuff like that, would you feel weird for doing that? Please say no. Yeah? I want to make sure that you don't feel weird doing it, but it's like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that it took me forever to come to terms with, like, this is how I know what this is. I bang on it, I interact with the environment around me, and it's like, if I ask somebody, like, hey, how big is this table? Like a stranger, right? And they go, I don't know, and they'd give me wrong information, or they wouldn't want to talk to me, or I could just go like this, get this information, right? And it's just a silly little thing, but it brings me a lot of joy, because a lot of the times, I think what I was trying to say earlier is, like, blind people aren't expected to be as noisy or forward, I think, as I am, and some of my collaborators and people that I work with a lot, that do a lot of work with, like, the sound of the white cane and the blind body and that sort of thing. And so I think what I'm gonna do, I kind of had like a scheme of what I was gonna do, but we'll just let the internet issues kind of.
My Wi-Fi is on. I think it's working now.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll just I'll come back to it, because
Okay.
I have another thing that I want to do. So before I get too deep into making too much noise, you guys know, like, Daredevil and stuff, and how he's not really blind. He just has, like, cool superpowers, but he's also awesome, and he uses, like, all of his senses and stuff to navigate. Like his hearing and his touch, and then he has, like, all this weird spatial acuity or whatever. I don't know. He's a superhero. He's radioactive or whatever it may be. One of the things that a lot of people sort of equate with him, and then I guess just blindness.
Okay, I found this on the web for radioactive, or whatever it may be, one of the things that a lot of people. Check it out.
Okay. No, I don't want to talk to Siri. Did I say her name? I'm sorry about that.
It's always a-
Again, blind people stuff. This is what we deal with. I think I was going to get into like echolocation. Like you guys know what that is, where it's kind of like dolphins use it and bats use it, I guess, you know, where they put like a sonic, you know, sound out, click, and it kind of like bounces off and reflects off the environment that you're in and that sort of thing, and it helps you navigate. And it gives you an idea of what like the space that you're in is like how tall is a room, how far away is the wall, what is it made of, and that kind of thing. And you know, it's one of those things that a lot of blind people might be like, yeah, no, I don't do echolocation, I don't do that, because they want to keep this sort of like mystique of blindness. But we all kind of do, and I think that everybody kind of does, where either passive or actively you're like listening to the room that you're in to kind of, you know, and you're kind of maybe gauging, you know, how big the room is. Like I spent some time in this space. I know how big the ceiling is, and I know that it has like a bunch of like insulation on it, and that it's kind of like, I think, arched like a rainbow or something like that. And that was just information that I gathered just by like talking and being in the room itself. But I have these things here, which are like, they're clickers, right? You can use them for echolocation. You either like use your mouth, or you can use these things, which are like dog trainers. I can't imagine training your dog to sit and it gets so close to your ear and it hurts, right? It sucks, and it just, I don't know. But so this is a tool that I use to kind of you know, gauge how big a room is, or how big a space is, or how far I am from a building. Like I've been using it out in the yard a lot, because you know it's a big open space, but then you hear a click, and it kind of like will bounce off of like whatever the material is in front of you, right? So there's we're gonna do that. There's a piece. There was a sound performance in the late '60s by this composer Alvin Lucier, and it was called Vespers, and it was like an echolocation piece, and one of the parts of the score was to blindfold somebody and then give them these clickers and have them like click around the room and use the acoustics of the room as the instrument. And of course it's like, you blindfold somebody, it seems so very aggressive, right? I mean, now it's, I don't know. I see people do that all the time. Like, oh, we'll just blindfold you and we'll have the same. We'll just blindfold ourselves and we'll have the same experience as you, right, Andy? And no, blindness is more than just putting on something on your face, right? And so that whole piece was really silly to me, and you just would have like this person like very passively walking through a room, clicking on stuff. Whereas now you have me, like a real genuine blind person. And I'm gonna click around the space, and we'll see if it's any fun. I don't know. It sounds cool when no one's in here, but you guys are all here, and it will absorb the sound. But maybe this will work. And so I'm just gonna click this stuff and walk around. You can close your eyes. You can look at whatever, but try to listen to where the sound is bouncing off around here, because you know sometimes it might be tricky. Sometimes it will fool your brain, or sometimes you'll just be so spot on and bored with what I'm doing that it's okay. But so basically this Vespers piece was what I'm about to do. And anybody here like stim toys? Like you guys like fidgeting around? And this is awesome for me. So I don't know if it was evident what the space does. I was originally gonna like walk all around behind you guys, but I don't know. I felt like maybe that's too much of a risk. But hopefully you heard how this thing like interacts with the space and how I move in one place and it echoes over there and that sort of thing. And that's kind of how I navigate and get around and stuff. And a lot of blind folks do that. In companion in parallel with a cane, right? So the cane, which I showed earlier, is this is the white cane, an orientation and mobility